more actual feeling experience. Okay, feeling experience. Settling. Little sense of opening here, a little more space. We'll use space for tonight's warm-up practice. Easy. It feels like a little more space. And that's a bit of an inner feeling of more space. It's not, oh yeah, there's more space. Or I wish this room was bigger so I could have more space. I'm not doing out there. As soon as possible, the space I'm talking about, a little more inner sense after a while, finer sense after a while, sense feeling, sensing, sense the space, inner sense of space, okay? Would start my brain spinning a little bit. What's he mean by that? How do I do that? What does that mean again? You know, yeah, easy, relax. Here and now. A sense of more space and as best as you can, an inner sense of more space. Just a little more space here. I'm kind of getting a basic circle. Space. Easy. Still a feeling of the space, heading into sensing more space, sensing more space. So it doesn't mean anything to me yet, so I hit it again. Easy. Inner, more space. Sense, experience more space. Go. Experience. And then I shift my focus from more space to, okay, if I'm on the right track, what's the body? Now I'm shifting it to body. What's the body doing in more space? Which time it feels a little looser, a little more fluid. A little more fluid again. A bit of flowing through the body. But that's just, so I use the body to see if I was on the right track. Now, I'm not interested in the body. Now back to inner, finer, more space. Easy. More space. Easy. Not an idea only. There's space experiencing itself, could we say? Easy. More space. And space. Space. Somehow feeling, sensing itself. Ooh, damn the word, but we'll hang in here. Easy. More space. A little more depth of more space. And why that's important to me is because I want to get away from awareness of space. Oh, yes, I can imagine more space. I've seen Star Trek. I have an idea. It's not that. It's important, partner, the experience of more space. Experience of more space. Easy. Now, in the more space, again, I want to check back with the body. Easy. See how I'm doing in more space. Body feeling itself. It feels longer. And what else? Easy. Body in more space. Body. It feels deeper. I can't prove that. I can still feel my feet on the rug, but there's a sense of deep extensions past the body level. Longer. A little bit of flow here. I can almost begin to play with flowing. Energies are flowing. Okay. A freer body, bit of a flow body. Just to clue me in that I'm on the right track. Okay. Now I shift again out of checking the body, and again, easy. Inner, finer, more space. Inner, finer, more space. Easy. As if experiencing inner, finer, more space. Deeper, more space, finer. Aware of it, yes. And experiencing it, or it's experiencing itself as more space. Find your own words there. In one more time, I'm going to use the body just to check, see how I'm doing. In more space, easy. Body, how are you doing? Now the body needs to feel itself. In more space, referencing the body. Feels fuller. My body does. Still longer, but also kind of stronger. A better relationship. It's like my legs are supporting my arm extension, for example. It's a better structured body, a better body in relationship with itself body. And again for a second, and more space. Easy. Easy. Inner sense of more space. Space sensing itself, experiencing itself, as opposed to just this mental, yes, more space. I've seen Star Trek, yes, I don't mean that. Okay, does that warm me up a bit? Whoosh, whoosh. Ah, okay. Hush. Better? Better? Okay. Now you've had a couple of weeks, and I know you've been playing, right? So space is cool. Can't go wrong with more space. And in more space, better self. And self itself is a unit. You could have highlighted that one. There's a character. Okay, we start them off in the heavier levels as Bobby or Robert Nadeau. We could pass that. And eventually there'll be an archetype character. Okay. And you'll have a couple more of those eventually. The construct or design of creation, I don't know. The great pulsating energy center circle, the great ups and downs, the great he force, she force, whatever. The construct of creation, the design of it, okay? So I'm sure in the last couple of weeks, you've sat and picked one of those and played with it, or a couple of them. Where are you? Where are we? Ta-da! That was a question, by the way. Where are we?
Sensei, this is Justin. I guess I'll start us off. For me, I had been gravitating towards self as a starting place, and settling into a deeper sense of self, a true me, if you will, presented from a written core, truer, more original, as you've mentioned. I began to notice that without smudging these now, that within a certain amount of space, with self, there is a space for self, giving room for self to manifest.
Yeah.
And then within space, there's the construct and the nutrients that sort of dance within the space. And then last of all, character begins to appear. Seems to be, for me, again, in that order is how they were coming to me in my experience. Self, and then self in space, and then the nutrients come in, and then there's a character that's lined up with whatever nutrients are appearing in the situation.
Could we say here for everybody, so he found a pattern, he liked the pattern he was using, the way he laid it out. However, the pattern appears for you. Okay, although we probably can't go wrong with space pretty early in the game, or self pretty early in the game, probably can't go wrong. But if you get a great calling for, well, what's the design of creation or something, then start with that one. But space still helps, a little bit of space first. That's why we did space for a warm up, a little bit of space, so that whatever next is important has room to show. Okay. Yeah. So I kind of like space early in the game.
Definitely.
But follow your own demands or inner callings or inner presentations. You can't go wrong with a little more room so that everything else can show better. Okay.
Always. That was just how it was laying out for me. But they're all interwoven or interrelated around each other.
As long as we don't smudge them.
Without smudging, exactly. I tried to be very diligent to keep each one in its own experience, so to say, but they all were coming in and relating to each other.
We kind of did that on our early practice. I hope we did it clearly. Space. And I said, okay, now I'm going to give the stage to the body. See how the body feels in this bigger theater stage, whatever. Okay. And then the body said, well, I can sort of move a little bit. Okay, good. It referenced me. More space. Now I'm shifting my attention from the character body to more space. We had more space, and we said, okay, I think this is a better space. It senses, experiences like a better space. Let's double check. Body in this space. And I go, oh, I feel longer. I'm breathing much better. I have these extensions down through my feet. My extensions don't stop at feet. They continue. My feet stop, but the extensions continue to go. That clues me in that there's more space there, and the depth of space is there. But to be very clear which piece you're working on, so they don't smudge. You see, my idea was in laying this out was these are main pieces, and they're going to show. So for you to be able to label them, could I say, to know which one is being present, to know which one you're highlighting, so that they don't smudge. So yourself and the character and the design, and you can't quite tell who's who and what's what, and you get kind of confused. You get a piece of this one and a piece of that one, and it's like, what the hell is going on here? So to set the stage, space, and then whatever wants to show next, and then you go, oh, that's self. Oh, okay. Self in the larger space. It's a finer, more original self. And self has a sense experience about itself. Da-da, da-da, da-da. So did we say that pretty good? What do you think,
Yeah,
Justin? What do you
I
think?
think so. Yeah, thank you. There's a couple of things that came up during these couple weeks, but I want to turn the mic over to the rest of you guys, and maybe I'll jump back
Jump in
in.
again, okay. Somebody, where are you? What are you getting out of this? You had 2 weeks?
Yeah.
That's-
Sensei, I'll say something. Space, I've just been hanging out with space the past couple of weeks because it feels like I can feel like it's in my muscles. The layers
Get
of
out
my
of there,
muscles.
stop it. Inner, finer, a bit more. Don't space. Come on. Remember that little circle here? And you had a bigger circle
Yeah.
and a bigger circle? What are you doing in your muscles right now? Maybe it's okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Continue.
It feels the spaciousness feels it's quiet and open, but there's also like nutrients there. There's
Careful now. Let's not throw a bunch of stuff into space. Let's just try to have space as space. Let's not put in stuff. You say it might be the beginning of smudging. Oh, there's nutrients there. Oh, that's a design or that's a construct showing. And it's going to smudge. So, so let's try to, I think I'm right here, people, bear with me. Let's just try to have a sense of space as space. Don't put a bunch of stuff in it. Yes, there is stuff in it, but let's get space when we're highlighting space. Okay, let's not suddenly have on the stage of space, suddenly a bunch of furniture and actors running around saying lines, and let's not throw stuff in there when we're majoring in space. Best I can say it. Okay, now continue with your body lineage here.
I was like pushing space, and then for me, well, self felt like it was partly a yearning, like almost a childlike yearning, but also an element of I don't know, or an element of like.
Let's go back to yearning. Yearning for what? It's a word, yearning. Yearning for another Hershey bar? Come on.
Goodness. Hardness, yearning, like a childlike yearning, aspirational.
Good. For what? You said it. Say it again. Yearning for.
Yeah. I don't know. Something coming downward. A downward.
Okay. And the downward, whatever is saying what? What is it presenting?
Again, that bit's like information that can be used. Okay. I guess. Yeah.
Go ahead, it's yours. The floor is yours.
Okay. Well, that was self, and then I guess one of my questions was like characters. Sometimes it seems like there's characters within characters.
Oh God. Well, characters overlay where Bobby stands, Robert is, where Robert is, Nadeau is. So maybe go ahead.
Well, I guess I got.
We're talking about space. Where are we going here? Are you smudging?
I was working with the four: space, self, character, and then concept design, which I didn't get to because I was just hanging out in space.
My suggestion for you is don't do 4 at the same time. You're going to smudge the hell out of them. Just that's your thing for a while. Space was a very good. I think your presentation of suddenly there's a circle around your neck, and then a circle around the heart area, and then a circle around the hips or hara area. I think that was an introduction from your system saying, hey, look at how space works. If you have this size space, you're bing banging in your head. When you get this size space, you're having more feelings, the one around the heart. There might be a little more emotionality or feelings. You get the one that you picked up around the hara or hip area, more feeling, physical feeling experience. I believe it was trying to show you what happens in a smaller space. Ding, 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 ding. Okay. Easy, settle, open, more space. With those kind of emotional feelings, maybe. Easy, settle, more space. And then you start to include this area. Easy, settle, more space, and we'll see. I think for you, I wouldn't try to do all four, because I don't think you're ready for all four at one time. In fact, everybody, be careful of all four. Okay. Or have a distinction. When you start to get distinct which is which, then you can let them have turns like we did. There's more space now. Body, you can have a turn here. Body, how you doing in the more space? Okay, thank you, body. Now back to more space. See how I'm, what's the word? Delineating them. I'm being clear on who's who, on who's on stage. Is it the stage itself? Or is it the body on stage? Or is it the self on stage? Or which aspect? So I think for you, because I thought space presented itself to you and said, hey, you, this is coming from your system. Look at bing, bang, bing. I would have suggested that you stay with space for a while. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And again, I would, for you, don't do four at the same time. In a sitting session, however long you sit, a half an hour, whatever, stay with one. Stay with one. Major in one for that time. Again, after a while, you can tell which is which. And then you can go, okay, thank you, character. Now back to space, or thank you, space. Now self, and here comes self taking the stage. Front and center, self. So something like that. So we don't smudge. Okay. Right. If I said it right. Somebody, what you been doing? Where are you? You got to say something or I won't know where to go.
Bob, it's Steve.
Steve?
Yeah. Well, I've been spending a lot of time with space, but particularly this last thing that we just did, what was really interesting is how we were referencing space as an experience, which when it started, it's not an experience. It's a kind of
an idea.
It's an idea. And I could actually feel, I didn't feel it right away, but in retrospect, once space became more prominent, I realized that I was reaching for the space. Because when space really emerged as an experience, there was nothing I was doing other than being present to the experience.
It was there showing itself, could we say? It was there beginning to show itself more, yeah.
And it was a very dramatic shift that happened in spite of myself. So that was a good experience from this past exercise.
I always figure anything I'm starting with an idea first.
Yeah.
Gee, I think I'd like to sit with space. Okay, it's an idea. And I know that's not space. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Easy, settle, open to space. Is that space? Is it there yet? How do I know it's space? Maybe I'm lying to myself. That's not space yet. Although even though it's there, I'm so busy screwing myself over. Easy, settle. Oh, yeah. And then after a bit, it's it itself being present, showing itself, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah. People do the best you can with our words because these things get very hard to talk about and they don't get any easier. Okay. We start having different, not only different dimensional language, but when we make a better change from the manifest linear world that we're in to this more original underlying that one, we're calling it the domain. Okay. The languaging gets even worse. Okay. God forbid you reach a divine level underlying that. The language will really be bitchy. We'll do the best we can. Okay. Anyway, were you finished, Steve?
Yes, I was.
Yeah. Yeah, you hang out with it and more of it shows, as Steve said. I like the way he said it. It's here showing itself, but he said it better than me. Anyway, somebody, where are we? Where are you? What have you been playing with?
This is Nancy.
Nancy, how you doing?
Great. Self has been, since we did a work on it a month or two ago,
Mhm.
I have a much more abiding sense of presence of self. It's a very friendly, personal, affirmative.
Damn right, it's personal.
It's present more often in no matter what I'm doing, and that's a wonderful development. And there's resources there I can kind of just relax into, and just let them kind of. I trust that if they're not there at the moment, they'll be there, anytime soon. So that's just been a very nice ongoing practice for the last few weeks.
Yeah, nice to have a good what to call this feeling for experience of self.
Yes.
For example, if you suddenly get wiped out, killed, die, like boom, and self is there. And if you have a familiarity or experience with self, no big deal. Oh yeah, that's gone. Here I am, self. The transition can be very, very fast, very neat, and very, how to say, advanced. That level can move along much faster, better to a better level, much better than whatever. And anyway, so it's nice for a person to have a better and better sense of self, the inner self, the truer self. Bodies come and go. Nadeau's come and go, but the self is the constant one. Okay.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate our work with this.
Yeah. Fun, huh?
Yes, it is very fun.
Seems like a little bit of work sometimes, but when you reach certain levels, it's fun.
Well, it shows up by itself, so to speak. No pun intended.
Yeah. Yeah, again, in trusting the space, go back to spaces first. For example, in trusting the space in more space, eventually it's like, now who wants a turn? Who wants to be next? And one of the other three ought to kick in, is one way of looking at it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Somebody, what you got? What are you working on? Bumping into any bumps? What? Great insights?
Sensei, Bob here.
Noah, go ahead.
Been working with character, and specifically catching more clearly that In my case, character has a tendency towards smudging in the sense that it wants to check with the other parts rather than feeling itself more fully. So I've been getting better with that.
Okay, hang on there for a bit. Let's see. Character. You might try alternating it or partnering it with space. Would that help, you think?
Yes.
Yeah. If character seems to be stalling, could I say? Stalling? You use different words, but what'd you say?
I just said smudging. It's wants to
Smudging.
check with the other parts instead of feeling itself.
Yeah. As best it can. And then, okay, now I'm changing the focus. I'm changing now. Space, more space. Getting a sense of more space. And then after some minutes, whatever, go back to the character in the more space. That might be a good potential way of getting out of smudge territory. Maybe there's not enough room. Okay, possibility. Try and see.
Definitely will do that.
Yeah. Character. Come around that end of the time. Okay, somebody, what you got? What's your insights? What are you having fun with?
Hey, Sensei, it's Mark here from New Zealand.
Mark. That Mark?
Yeah.
Okay, Mark. Yes.
I've been spending quite a bit of the time with self, and previously to my training, I always started. I was always kind of pumping the character as such, but the whole thing seems to have kind of flipped when I actually kind of play with self to a point where I can feel it, notice it. I don't know the exact word there, but I'm hitting this thing where when I'm doing something, I kind of sort of say, right, kind of letting self come through and show me.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. What comes through?
Self. So rather than starting with character, actually starting with self in an activity and letting it sort of come through to sort of show me to be part of whatever I'm doing. It seems like a complete flip to what I used to do. I used to pump the character until one day self sort of was there, but doing it's kind of the other way, sort of working with self, and then any character that happens to be there is just naturally improved.
Right.
There's the character is still a character, but there's something. It's like the character's got a wee glow to it, or it's different from character. There's something more that will come through there. Best I can sort of say it. It's character with a wee.
Right, so
it has a plus now.
Mark, could you just pause for a second, please? Pause.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm having trouble hearing you, so if I don't quite follow what you're saying, your voice is smudging over here.
Sensei, can I help you?
Yes, help me.
So normally he develops and pumps the character aspect and self reveals. But lately he's been working self and character is revealing, and the character that is revealed has a wee glow to it. It's somehow
Better character. A better character.
Are you good with that, Mark?
Yeah. It's
okay.
it is
just let Sensei respond now.
Yeah.
So thank you, Sensei.
Yeah. So you can bounce any two back and forth. Better character, and you seem to be reaching your limits or something. Okay, self. And now self takes the stage. Better self. Now the character within the self has more room. So it's kind of like space, has more room and more selfness to be a better character. So it doesn't matter if you went a self character or character self. So you bounce all these things all around. They're all in relationship. Just be clear, people, on what you're doing so you don't smudge them and you get confused as to where you are and who's who, is all I'm trying to say. Was that make any Mark to answer anything?
Yeah. No, it was just I like that word selfness. What did you say? Selfness. The selfness coming through. Yeah, but having a sense of that makes the characters easier as well. I don't have to work as hard.
Yeah, no, character ought to be naturally mixed. My word mixed, I don't know if that's a good word. That's a natural. It's not like, oh, Bobby's got to mix up a Robert. How do I do that? And I don't even know who Robert is. How am I supposed to? It's not. That's not right, people.
Yeah.
Mistakes we make along the way. So more open and allowing. You're in your own universe kind of thing. Of course, there's a character and a finer character. I don't know, easy, open. Next finer character, easy, open. Don't panic. Where is it? Is it here yet? Is it going to be okay? Easy. Let it unfold. Whatever. Let space unfold. Let self show it's there unfolding. Let character unfold. What are the main beats of creation? What's the design of creation? Easy, settle. Give it a little room. That's why I like kind of like space. Give it a little room so it can unfold and show how it works. Yeah. So I think I'm trying to point out the naturalness that we work too hard. And in our working too hard, we slow things down. We potentially even tighten up on them. And it's too, really, it's too here. It's too available. In a certain way, it's too clear, obvious. The pieces being the pieces know what they're about. They have their own intelligence about themselves, their own experience of themselves, could I say. Now, Bobby's got to experience that. I'm dead in the water. Damn the words. But I'd like to push on this naturalness. Let me see if I could do it at this moment. Naturalness. There's a great beat of creation that goes heavier and tighter, we call it. And that's why I can go from a Nadeau to a Bobby to a weird Bobby, because it goes tighter. But the equal force to that goes back into finer and finer and finer and finer. So is that not the main thing, this naturalness of the, what they call it, the pull back, the return back? And we make a lot of work. How can I do that? How can I be a better person? And then we slow things down and it's a lot of work. How can Bobby, the pain in the ass macho idiot, be a nice guy? That's damn hard for Bobby. It's not virtually impossible. But in this naturalness of a drawback, natural return sounds like a word OSensei might have used, a return back. It's returning back to its origin, to the finer, more original of itself. And I think I'd like to go over that better another day soon, for us to be able to take advantage of that natural pullback, natural draw. And I don't mean back there, into the finer origin, which is here. There's a natural draw, a natural movement that we can take advantage of more. Like the more I get into this work, the more I see how in a certain way, how hard we've made things, how hard we work, and when it's just kind of a misunderstanding. Like Bobby trying to be a Robert. How can Bobby be a Robert? He's a Bobby. If Bobby lets go easy, there's a little more room there. There will be a Robert there. Okay, but Bobby doesn't trust. Right away, he's screwing things up. How do I know there's going to be a Robert there? It works for other people, but it doesn't work for me because I'm one of those weird guys. We screw it up. We stop it. There's a simplicity. Sensei told me over and over, Nadeau, it's so easy. It's so easy. But you have to catch the trick, so to speak. I don't know if you use the word trick, but pretty close to that. That you have to catch on through experience some of the trick. That it's not just a given. Here's the trick, people. Go ye and be saints or whatever, otherworldly or great beings. In a certain way, it can't be given that way. And I sort of wonder if I overdo it. You got to play, you got to practice, you got to, for lack of words, meditate. You got to sit down. Oh, yes, you can do it walking. Yes. But also sit down, settle and open, and let the inner finer of things show. You have to do that. You can't just listen to me talk and memorize a diagram and say, oh, yeah, I understand. It's not going to do it. It's not going to do it. There has to be an actual practice, an actual sitting, could I say? In whatever form you want to sit, but hopefully that in your sitting style, whatever, that there is an opening, that there is the allowing of whichever of the main pieces we want to show. You have to put time in, okay? I'm just trying to make the journey a little easier by showing you some of the highlights. And by saying, well, people might get a little confused between the different pieces showing, they may be smudge showing. So if we can say, look at first, there's space, or not necessarily first, but there is space, there is self, there is a character, and there's a design to things. And now there's an earlier, finer, more original of all of those. But you still have to sit and play, open, experience, have the experience, or allow those to show that they're experiencing themselves. Self is experiencing itself, character is experiencing itself, design has its own experience being part of the design. Damn the words. Okay, but anyway, you got to do something. You got to do something. If it's just lecture time, I could probably write all this out in a little short booklet or something and say, here, and you study it and go, oh, okay. But if you don't actually sit and play, intellectual knowledge won't do it. The importance of this inner experience part, I can't tell you how important that is. The intellectual knowing, understanding approach, yeah, you'll expand the brain thing, yeah, but you won't be able to go any real distance, not a real distance. Because the partner to that, the experience of it is not there, so you'll get spun out. Okay? Sorry, but that's the way it works. Okay? Don't know if I said that well either, but so be it. Somebody, where are we?
Sensei, this is Lauren, and I think you said it very, 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 very well just now. As someone who's been trying to work on how to write down what you're saying, very eloquent. And what I am struck by especially is the point you just made at the end, which is that, let's say that there's a progression, or that there are these four major things. space, self, character, design, that there is a more original version, if you will, or instantiation, finer. I want to use the word more spiritual, but you don't like that word. Let's just leave it at finer.
Yeah.
Finer energy, finer dimension, that it repeats again. They're still at that finer dimensions, space, self, character. And
Yeah, these are big four. They go all the way back.
right. And so at every dimension, we have this same practice. And I also am hearing you say, it's really one thing, and I'm just breaking it apart for clarity of practice.
Yeah.
I
could say that.
Well, they're so intertwined and interrelated, and one leads to the other, and then you're back where you started. So the key thing I heard tonight was that there's a finer version of these big four at each dimension.
Yeah. And right there, dimension might be an okay word, but it just because we've used dimensional in our linear manifest world. Bobby, Robert, Nadeau, we've used dimensionality there. But again, when we start saying, okay, but I'm sort of bored with improving Nadeau and Mr. Nadeau and Sir Nadeau, and it goes on for virtually forever. What's more original? What's more original? And there's a little different tact right there, which might show dimensionally, but I don't want to use dimensions because we're used to dimensions like a ruler, 1 inch to 2 inch. Whoa, I'm improving to 3 inch. Holy shit, am I fantastic? Holy shit, I'm the best and I'm the richest guy in the country. I'm the most handsome guy in the country. I'm the fastest runner in the country.
I heard you echo OSensei's words in Japanese, moto ni modoru, and it's to return to the center, return to the origin.
Yes.
And I know when I first heard it, it gave me great hope, because whatever you are today, there is an original self that
you're still in relation to, still connected to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And again, what I try to tricks of the trade is if you just think about this, you'll like the idea, and it gets pretty bright and fancy, but it won't do it. The idea alone, the awareness alone won't do it. So I say, people, I'm telling you, you really need also the experience. I'm aware there's something finer. Okay, good. Now its counterpart is the experience. Okay.
Yeah.
And because we're starting kind of, say, smaller, the experience at first won't be fantastic, but lo and behold, it's a bit better. Okay, I lifted my arm, settle open. Oh, the arm floated up. Whoa, whoa, and it feels longer and stronger, and it feels more sensitive. Whoa, cool. Touching my lady friend, or massaging my buddy, or shaking hands properly. Whoa, yes, I'm at a better level. So those are just warm-up clues to head in the right direction. I got lost in what I was talking about. I'm sorry. Lauren, go ahead.
Thank you, Sensei.
Thank you. Yeah. 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 Again, hang on one second. Back to what he said. Again, OSensei says, don't go anywhere because you're directly connected. I know it's a bit of a mess. I know that. God knows I know that. But you're still directly connected. Easy. Easy. And in that more opening, you're line up to the connection. And in more opening, the self, a better level of self that's there can sort of present itself and affect you. better character will be there, a better flavor, feeling of the design of creation will be there. So you're right there. I know it's kind of small and tight, but that's right in the middle of your creation setup. Sorry, cut you off. Who was that?
Gina,
Gina. Hi.
hi. So first, I want to thank you for separating these, because I think you started really separating them about 3 weeks ago. And before that, I was just trying to cram them all into one sitting and getting all jumbled up.
Were you smudging this stuff?
I think I was a big smudger. So 2 weeks ago, I just decided to, as you say, major in space, because it seems so nothing to me. I thought, well, and it was really hard. I had a lot of resistance, but I stuck to it, and I got through a few days, and then I thought, okay, I'll just do it for 1 week. And then I started really loving space, and there was a lot going on there. And
For a second, could I turn around and say space loves itself?
yes, it really does. That's what really came through. It just loves being space because it gets to see all this creation going on from the time of.
Yeah, let me jump in one more time. Bobby don't love nobody. How can Bobby love space? Say impossible. It will never happen. Space, as it begins to show itself and be present, cares about itself as space. It's a major piece. And
Yeah, I'm
on
so
and
glad
on
you
and
said
on.
that.
Yeah.
I'm on the right track. Yay.
What's
Okay.
wrong with me? I don't love space. Well, of course not.
Well, after
I don't
2
love
weeks,
you either. Now, if we hang a little bit, me and you, maybe it'll turn into a deeper liking and a little bit. Maybe I'll really care for you. Let it show itself. And anyway, blah blah blah.
it
Sorry.
really worked. I love space after 2 weeks, I'll tell you. And
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
but
great.
my question is, can you just talk a little bit about the difference in character and self? I mean, isn't your character your
They're a little touchy, aren't they? Yeah. They have a sort of well, everything is overlaid, but self and character are strongly overlaid, especially at first.
Yes.
Oh, what to say there? I'll let somebody else jump in. Bob, you got anything to say about this, Noah? What's your sense of that question? The distinction between character and self.
The character is sort of a role that you play, some of which are quite basic and others are kind of incidental. But one analogy that works for me is the self is like the body, and the character is the clothing that the body wears.
Okay, let's say it that way.
So if I'm going to weed in my backyard, I'm going to wear jeans and whatever. If I'm going to a state dinner at the White House, then I'm going to wear a tuxedo.
Yeah.
But it's still me, self.
Yeah. I liked his analogy. That's the right word, right? But I don't like the use of the word, although I like the analogy again, not the use of the word body to represent self, because we have enough problem with self and bodies.
Very true.
So for that reason, I'd say, yeah, but I prefer not to use the word body there, but I like the analogy. Yeah. But body meaning really
A constant.
self, not the way you're using it. You said there is a costume, but this self allows costumes, but doesn't wear a costume, but allows a character to put on whatever costume is necessary. Okay. Could I say it that way? I didn't say it well either.
Yeah.
Who brought that up? Gina, or anybody else want to jump in on Gina's question, the difference between character and self? Tija, with your Eastern experience, do you have anything to say here with that?
I have to go right along with Noah, because I think he said it really well in the distinctions that we're making, that Gina called for in that. What is the distinction from of the self to the character? So I loved the analogy that Noah brought forward. I thought that really works, because it is, as you began to say, Sensei, it's touchy territory. How do you actually distinguish those? I think that was it. So
Tightly, they're all overlaid, but they're tightly overlaid.
they're
Those
all
two.
overlaid. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good one, Gina.
Well, another one, Gina, that we discussed over the time has been the sense that self is immutable, I think was something that Noah was saying, and character is appropriate for the situation. Right? And so,
Costume of the situation.
yeah. And so sometimes a situation will call forth a character from you. Sometimes you screw up your character to be appropriate for the situation, but it works both ways. But
Should be a natural kind of thing going on there. Yeah.
and the example that often used is, the character that you are at work is somebody that needs to do certain things and act a certain way and be a certain person. And then when you go home, it's usually you need to change to a home type person. You have a family or a pet, or even if you're only by yourself, you're not at work. And so those are two of it's just still you, right? It's still you, but it's a different sort of aspect or presentation or character of you. I think
So if
something
you're doing a sitting, how do you pick which one? I mean, do you choose?
You don't need to. You don't need to.
She just said you don't have to pick. I'll make space.
It will
for
be emergent. It will be self-emerging.
Just the right one will show up.
Whatever the situation is,
Yeah.
then the natural happening there. This is potted plant theory. You're in a particular situation. Potted plant to the center, which becomes a character or a particular plant, is the right plant for that situation. Did I say that all right, people?
Okay, that makes sense. But then I kind of thought we were going beyond
Oh,
surface,
you want to go
center,
past
and
that?
those kind of things, that this was like the next.
Well,
But if that's it, then I got it. I mean, I'll work on it.
Well, Gina, if I can offer you something and see how this resonates with you. When you're working with meditation in this way, you don't want to preconceive what it is you're going to have an insight with or practice with. So that's why I was saying you don't need to understand or try to even project what it is that you're going to be practicing with. So if you're practicing with space, as you beautifully expressed earlier, you're letting space have its presence, its being, and you're listening to that. So when you're listening to that, you're not from another place trying to impose on space. I hope that was, is that useful?
Yes, that's hard for me to let go of that control. I want to tell it what to do.
All of it is. Yeah. Well said, though. It's good observation you made.
Another thing that you might think of is if space is like the stage, the self is an actor. The actor is always the same actor. You as an actor don't change. You are that actor. But then as a character, you're going to wear different clothing. You're going to become something appropriate for that role that the actor is playing.
I kind of like that analogy also.
Yeah.
The self as being the actor, but he's not a character yet. but he's an actor, and anytime you need a character, whatever, something happens, has to be a character, and suddenly there's the actor wearing his costume. There's a character, yes, okay. But if we agree on that,
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
that okay? I think one game I used to play in bouncing a couple things back and forth was either as a finer level of self, experiencing that, and then saying, okay, now character here at this level of self, and just let the character assemble and show itself and be present. And I probably did that. I definitely did it with self. Larger space, larger space. Or I could probably do it with space. You think, oh, this is a larger space. Okay, who is the character changing my whatever change? And then the character in a larger space ought to be a better character. I mean, didn't we do that for our warm up? We had space, and I said, well, let's check with the character and see how it's doing. And in a larger space, the character had more flow and more whatever fluidity and whatever, more groundedness. So what am I saying here? At a particular level, whether you're using space or self, character, you can give the stage to character and let the character show itself. Are we sort of, are we talking the same language here tonight?
Sensei, this is Bob again.
Yeah.
You pointed out long ago a good example of a healthy relationship between the character and the self. There was a TV series called The Prisoner. And it was kind of a science fiction sort of fantasy series. And in the culminating scene of the series, the main actor, Patrick McGowan, and his protagonist are locked in a cell, and they have this very, very intense interaction. After the scene was over, Leo McKern, who played the bad guy, was so intense with the scene that he ended up in the hospital. And they asked McGowan about it. He said, well, I was just being a character. You know, he let it go and he was fine. There was no illness or entanglement between the self and the character for him. But for the other guy, he got so entangled between the self and the character, he actually got ill.
Yeah.
You pointed that out at the time. I remember when that series was on.
Is Autumn on tonight? No.
I didn't see her.
Autumn.
No, Sensei.
No. This would be a good reminder to Autumn that for me, from my viewpoint, an actor is like has the ability of allowing different characters to get mixed, my phrasing, to get mixed, to allow a character and the fuller of the character. And then when the show is over, you clear from that because you're a clear, well, how about I just call it? You go back to just being an actor, but there's no role, there's no tie-in, lock into the last character. If it's a bad guy, you don't finish up the show being a bad person. It's I'm not saying it well. Anyway, this ability to be clear, to allow a character to be there. So if the director says, could you pick it up a bit, and you allow more of the character. And if the director says, could you tone it down a bit? You go, oh, okay. I'm kind of angry, but I'm not going to kill you, but I'm just got to let you know I'm kind of angry. Okay, so tone it down, pick it up. It's something that the character in his mix can readily do. I don't know if I said that well, but to me, that's an important piece of acting. See, a lot of people are confused about an actor, and So again, I think I mentioned this a long time ago, but I was attending this dialogue lecture by this famous acting coach lady. Don't remember who she was, but very famous, had a big crowd there of aspiring actors. And one guy in the audience had a question. He said, I have trouble being a bad character. And she said, oh, yeah. And you could see she's heard this many times before from many people, and she didn't really know what to say to him. I thought, oh, that's interesting. She's a pro. He was retaining his person, his Bobby or Robert, and then trying to be a bad character. And they were getting confused. So Bobby didn't want to be a bad guy. And so he had trouble allowing a bad character. He couldn't allow a bad character. It's like, Bobby is not the actor. The actor is Mr. Clear. And Mr. Clear allows bad guy according to the script. Because it's not going up through Bobby and Nadeau and stuff. It's just, you're clear. And anything can mix there. So an actor has that capability. Don't know if I said it well, but not bad, I think. Anyway.
Sensei, I think you did. This is Elaine. I like the way you said that, actually, and it resonates a lot with how we work with clients and probably, a lot of other situations in certain ways. There is a way that, we remain clear and in a way neutral, so that this ability of sensing can also be clear, that what's coming through from the client and what develops between us can actually be something that's relevant and appropriate, and it's not necessarily at all appropriate for the next person who comes in the room. And it's not that I feel like I have to be a different, it's not like I'm acting a different role per se, but I am actually being, in a way, a slightly different presence for each person.
Stay clear. Can we use the word clear?
They need different things, and the guidance that we can offer is going to be way more relevant if there is that, specificness and the clarity in between, that coming back in between is, I think you described that really well. Actually, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think in the mainstream medical, the doctors, that some years back, they were having a lot of trouble with this. Some were very separate from you. They didn't really have a bedside manner. Not really. They kept very, what's the word? Very professional, cold, distant, a certain way. And a few of the other doctors say, no, we have to have a relationship or a bedside manner or something. So there was this problem. I attended at Esalen a little dialogue in this area. And so I think a little bit what you're talking about, but if you're clear, you can feel what they're feeling, feel what maybe the your best approach on working with them is. But that doesn't mean you walk away with their illness. In fact, that you laughed, sort of reminded me. Steve, you may have been there in the old days in LA. I was teaching these, mainly psychologists were there, teaching them to feel the problems of their clients. Yeah. And one of them, a patient, somebody's had a headache. Let's go in and feel, I don't know, their headache and why they're getting a headache or something. And then we finish with that pass. And he said, oh, I've got a headache. And I laughed. And I said, you're not supposed to go in there and experience it and retain it. You go in clear. Could I use that word now? You go in clear and say, oh, this guy's got a headache with that amount of pressure. Okay. And maybe the cause of it. Okay. And now you go back to clear. So when you're finished, you don't have a headache. You just were clear in the experience. Again, don't know if those words are right, but that was that following yours, sort of, kind of, Elaine? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so whether you're doctoring or acting, is there something about? See, that's an ability of ours because of the self. Eventually, self will bring up a word. I don't know if we have the transparency of self. This is a very, very advanced level of self. Transparency of self, where self can be present and everything's going on, and self is experiencing what all the main pieces are experienced. It's not interfering, but it's there present with all of that. It's clear, okay, or transparent. Yeah. So it can experience everything, but not be negatively affected by anything.
Sensei, this is Tom. I really like what you just said, and it also relates to, for me, this discussion reminds me of an ancient Vedantic story about the tree with two birds. And there's one bird that sits in the tree and observes. And the other bird is eating the fruit of the tree. But the bird that observes is living vicariously through the bird that's eating the fruit. So he's aware of the whole tree, aware of all the fruit, but this other bird is so focused on the fruit. It's a story of Purusha, which represents the self or the greater self, and Prakriti, which is creative energy, female energy. So this bird, this tree with Purusha and Prakriti, the observer, the one that's sitting in the tree observing everything, not eating the fruit, and the other bird, which is devouring of the manifest in the tree. It's an ancient story, but it's consistent through our understanding of how consciousness and the self and how we manifest our experience.
My short example of that would be, yes, aware or have an idea or see, okay, the bird in the tree. But the next part and the counterpart, the partner, if you would, eats, partakes of that. You need both birds.
Yep.
You need both birds. And too many of us, hello out there, too many of us are doing the seeing, understanding, brainy bird. I got no bitch, we got to start someplace, but stop it. Are you experiencing now? Really experience? Double check that, because there's a tendency to, oh, I'm aware of the word experience. I know that means eating and chewing. And you taste the food, and the food has this vitamins. We just damn well stop it. That's more of that. You got to actually experience, eat the damn stuff, inhale it, slurpee. I've tried to present this in so many dumb words. Be present, experiencing. And watch out for this bird. He'll jump the gun on that. He'll be able to spell experience and think he's got it. He's not eating anything yet, or a very minor bit. He's eating somebody else's droppings or something, but it's not the fullness. It's not the fullness.
Right.
Blah, blah. We're finishing up, people. We okay for tonight?
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sensei.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sensei. I think we are right close to 8 o'clock, and
It's time to go. Me and Brad need pizza tonight.
well, we don't want to keep your pepperoni waiting. So thank you so much, Sensei, and thank you, everyone. We'll see
Thank
you
you.
next week. And all contributions are welcomed and gratefully accepted.
Yes.
Thank you, Sensei.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Bob.
Thank you, Sensei.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Lauren.
Sensei. Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Sensei.
Thank you, Sensei.
That was a wonderful story, Tom Lewis. Bye, everyone.